Okay, this week's letter, V. We're doing things a little differently today because there were so many good options for V that I couldn't settle on just one, so I chose 3. Vo2 max, vegan or veganism, and vagus nerve. So the first one, Vo2 max. There are a ton of different measurements we use in the fitness world to measure state of physical fitness. So heart rate, cadence, pace, quantity of reps, etc. However, Vo2 max is a very intriguing one because it's completely customized per individual, and it is basically your body's ability to deliver oxygen to working muscles. So to measure your Vo2 max, you are basically measuring your max effort or maximum effort. So this basically means you are going from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic metabolism. The main difference is just whether or not your body is using oxygen to break down that protein bar that you ate prior to your workout, or not using oxygen to break down the protein bar for energy. So aerobic is where we start, and this just means oxygen using. So this includes type of workouts that increase heart rate, breathing rate, typically over a sustained period of time. So when we do endurance-based movements like long form cycling, maybe quick walking, swimming, running, all of these are aerobic because your body is still using the oxygen molecules that you have floating in your lungs to break down the carbs, fats, and proteins for energy, as opposed to not using oxygen. Anaerobic, on the other hand, just basically means absence of oxygen. So this includes like short, intense bursts of physical activity where we're sprinting, maybe weightlifting, resistance training, high intensity interval training, aka HIIT. So this is when your body does not use oxygen to break down the carbs, the fats, and the proteins, because there are no leftover floating oxygen molecules in your lungs because you are so out of breath after doing those 100 burpees. As you may have guessed, the higher your Vo2 max score, the greater your oxygen utilization, aka the greater capacity you have for physical work. So the measurement is usually known to peak between 25 years of age and early 30s. However, the measurement is, of course, trainable, aka you can train your body over short or long periods of time, depending on the type of fitness or workouts you do. So that just means that a well-trained, like 45-year-old could have a much higher Vo2 max score than like a sedentary 22-year-old. Vegan or veganism. This is our second V word of this week. So majority of you are probably very familiar with vegan or veganism due to whether it's your friends, family members, favorite Instagram or TikTok influencers, or any plant-based individual that you come into contact with. But I essentially wanted to use this as a little refresher, since you're probably might be confused about vegans who might eat eggs because what the heck? I thought that they didn't eat any animal byproducts. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that, basically what vegan or veganism means, and kind of address this buzzword of our generation, yes? So veganism or vegan extends beyond just food. It can refer to a sandwich, a car seat, shampoo, a person, and essentially vegans do not eat anything that is derived from animals or consume or use anything that's derived from animals. So this includes, but is not limited to, avoiding foods like meats, seafood, eggs, gelatin, whey protein or whey protein products because that is ultimately derived from milk. They might not even eat honey because this is derived from bees. So if they're also real legit vegans, they might not even use or leverage any products that are derived from animals. So this also can include, but not limited to, certain cosmetic products, clothing like leather, perhaps shampoos, since they can sometimes contain animal biotins like proteins, keratins, and gelatin. You might be wondering, wait, gelatin? How is that not vegan? So whether you've consumed gelatin in jello shots mixed with your favorite adult liquor, or perhaps in marshmallows in a gooey s'more, you have consumed gelatin, as that is the primary ingredients in both jello and marshmallows. So gelatin is not vegan because it's actually made from ground up animal skin, bones, tendons, and ligaments. So this might sound quite repulsive because of the animal tissue content in gelatin, but it's actually extremely high in protein. So the process of creating gelatin actually extracts collagen, which is a fibrous, almost like connective tissue that I know we all probably take scoops of at Vital Proteins, from animal tissue and turns it into gelatin, which is a flavor. So is there a difference between being vegan or being plant-based? They're nearly one and the same, to be really honest. The two consume solely plant-derived foods like fruits, veggies, grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. Legumes being peas, beans, lentils. We also learned from my story yesterday that peanuts are actually legumes, which was kind of earth-shattering to me, given that for those of you that know me very well, I'm absolutely obsessed with trail mix and nuts in any form. So that was very groundbreaking for me. Luckily, in today's day and age, you can pretty much find plant-based foods anywhere. So there are plant-based alternatives to cheeses, eggs, burgers, like meatballs. The list truly goes on. But any of my friends who are willing to pitch a difference between vegan and plant-based diets, please holler. Okay, so the third and final V of this week is vagus nerve. So spelt a wee bit differently than Las Vegas, but pronounced exactly the same. This is essentially the primary pathway or highway between your gut and your brain. It controls all of the parasympathetic nervous system mechanisms of your body from your hips up. So parasympathetic, you can think of those as all the rest and digest functions. So aka these are not your fight or flight. That is going to be sympathetic. Again, this is parasympathetic, which basically covers off on all the involuntary actions that you perform. So meaning that we cannot consciously control these. These are everything from your heartbeat to swallowing, basic speech, digestion, immune system. Basically those things you don't think about doing, your body just does them. We touched briefly on the vagus nerve in B, blood-brain barrier, and D, digestive tract. But the vagus nerve, again, is that superhighway that your organs use to send messages back to your brain. So they're just constantly sending messages back and forth. And since your gut, your digestive tract, is the primary point of contact between the inside of your body and the outside world, aka your mouth and your tongue, each meal you eat basically has the potential to swarm your insides with sometimes dangerous bacteria, viruses, toxic substances, etc. So your immune system better be suited and booted to fight off these invaders. So that basically means that the moment these potential viruses or invaders hit your GI tract or even start in your tongue, again, as we know from D, digestive tract, your mouth is actually a part of your to in turn send messages back to be able to fight off these invaders. That is done via the vagus nerve, digestive system. So once these viruses and or invaders hit somewhere inside your body, whether it is your mouth or if it doesn't reach until your gut, that means that each organ needs to be able to send that red flag up to your brain, and then the brain needs